you mentioned about you didn't put out a record until like 7 years after you got saved. Or a regular topic that we talk about in this office are people that kind of just, the second they get saved, because they were rapping before, the second they get saved, they go and put out a record or whatever else. Or, you know what I mean? What made you, or what made you decide to hold it back, or did you feel it was still your ministry, or you know what I mean? What was the process in that 7 years?
That's a really good question. Well, what it was with me is that I first, how I came to Christ, is I had a spiritual advisor, like someone that brought me to Christ. And she happened to, as she said, she had standards in Christ. You know what I mean? And it was like, it wasn't no joke. It was like, and the first thing she taught me again was, your decision making that you make is going to determine how your life pans out. So she'll say, well, try this, stop doing that, stop doing this, and then I'll stop, things will work out. So within that time, I was actually, and I'm glad you said that, I was actually one of the biggest record-selling underground artists at the time. My record was on Hot 97 there for 13 weeks. I sold over 9,000 records through. Now this is vinyl, so back then, if you sold 9,000 vinyl, you sold a lot. I was big in Japan, and I was touring and all that stuff. So when I was born again, I thought, wow, it's a wrap for me. I thought God was gonna dead it, because I also was still smoking cigarettes for 2 years. So I'm gonna be real with you. It wasn't my choice to wait 7 years. It was the way the person that brought me to Christ mentored me. It's kind of like what they say, if you come from a household where you pretty much grow up, that's like when you're born again into another family. Like, this is new. So whoever is that person that's overseeing you, and pretty much they raise you the way they were raised. So a lot of times if you have somebody in a particular church and they grew up this way, a lot of times they teach you to think that way. Well, with her, it was no holds bar. It was like, this is not a game. We're living this. We're not talking this. If you're going to get up on that stage and you're smoking cigarettes, somebody's going to see you and you're going to cause somebody else to sin. Or you could hurt somebody else's ministry from that. And if you're taking it seriously, it ain't a game. So I thought, well, man, I could bust around here. Why can't I just do this there? And it was like fasting, praying, praying. It was watching movies, learning things, getting through. And the second part of it was I was really still hurt from the breakup. So I didn't want to do crap. I didn't want to do nothing. So God was just literally rebuilding my life within that 7 years. And it was crazy. Once I went into the Bible and started to read and learn, you always hear that the 7th year is the year of completion. So it wasn't coincidental that 7 years later was when my first album dropped. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's for everybody. Some people catch it faster. You get what I'm trying to say? But then I've seen a lot of people start off the first week they got saved. It's like, I'm out there, the next thing you know, you hear them backsliding. You see them talking to this one. Someone caught them cursing at this person. And you're just not ready. It's not something that you just want to jump into. You've got to be prepared for it, man. And some people learn along the way. Some people wait and do it the right way. You get what I'm saying? And that's what it was for me.
One thing I want to add to what you're saying is that not only is it ministry, but it's a spiritual warfare as well.
Oh,
that's what people don't understand, is that they think that, okay, yeah, I'm saved now, but they haven't learned the process, or they haven't even put the full armor on to go into battle. You know what I mean? Because, like, as you said, ministry is a hard thing. You're going to get the hit first. You know what I mean? And it's like, as you're saying, when you went on stage one time, you got convicted. It's because, like, when God gives you something, it always comes to you first. So you will always feel it first. You know what I mean? So, like, say if a preacher got a word now, it will always hit them first, and then you'll have to give it to the church. You know what I mean? So it's like, whatever we do, we have to have preparation. It's not a thing that you can just easily go into. So yeah, that's what I just wanted to add.
To add even more to that, take it even more practical. I like to think that for people that do that whole thing of going straight from they were rapping before or singing before, the second they get saved, they want to start putting something out straight away. It's kind of a practical way of putting it. It's kind of like if someone's a manager at a shop, and you say, as that, for instance, you're manager in one supermarket, and you go and get a job as a manager in another supermarket, even though they're exactly, you know, they're more or less the same thing on a surface level, you still have to learn things totally different, because in that place they do it different. You know what I mean? In that place they do it different. So you might take your ideas from here, you know, and you're thinking it's the exact same thing, but within a day or two you're like, this is something totally different.
Yeah. Well, so, to piggyback on that, what God taught me with that format was that being a minister is like being a teacher. Now, one thing that I learned, a school teacher, a 12th grade teacher and a 1st grade teacher is on the same level of education. If I don't know how you guys call it as far as the grades are concerned, but with us it's like 1st grade, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, and you go up to like 12th grade is the end of high school, and then there's college. Now you got college professors as well as 1st grade teachers teach in school, but they're both as intelligent. Remember, one's not smarter than the other. In order for you to be a teacher, you have to go through certain credentials. It's not like they're saying, okay, well, since you're a 1st grade teacher, you don't have to be as smart as a 12th grade teacher. No, they both go to do the schoolwork to learn to be a teacher. And then once they get their certificate, then they choose whether they want to do 1st, 2nd, 3rd. So in other words, how he taught me was, a 12th grade teacher can't walk into a 1st grade class and teach them 12th grade work. So if you walk into a 1st grade class as a 12th grade teacher, you have to change your way of thinking, and you have to bring it in a way that that 1st grade can understand. And if you come from if you're a 1st grade teacher, you're not going to walk into a 12th grade class and teach them 1st grade work. It's just going to be too, you know. So what God showed me was you have to be ready for whatever class you're teaching. And that's the reason why Slave, we know what class we're in right now. And that's why we're bringing it real. We're just trying to pick it. And that's why Roger brought us here. He said that before we got here. I want you to come here and keep it as real as you kept it the other day. Because he wants this to be no form of watered down. You understand? He wants us to give it to you straight. And that's the way we got it, and you know, because we care. I'm not going to sit there and just throw a whole bunch of scriptures at you and that you don't understand. I'm going to talk to you real life.
I think that you mentioned something which is important. Not to myself, but you said you either do it, you start off when you're young and be destructive, or do it the right way and allow God to do what He needs to do. And I think that for me, it's like I've seen a lot of destruction, not only because of artists currently, but over the years, artists that come on the come up, you know what I mean, just jump on this thing, and destructions, you know, I've seen ministers smoke afterwards, and like you have to explain to everyone why they're smoking, after they just deliver the message, laid hands on people, and then all of a sudden they're smoking at the back. You know what I'm saying? What so not because they're bad people. They genuinely love Jesus Christ. They're going through the process. You know, we just with some people, because the thing is sometimes we can get ignorant. You know, as well. It's like, you know, when it comes to smoking and stuff like that. Still, it's like I don't know about yourself, but I've never experienced smoking from a level of being addicted to smoke. So I can be ignorant. It's okay then, yo. You know what I'm saying? Yo, if you get saved, you should drop the smoke. You should drop the weed. You should drop the crack. You know what I'm saying? And if you're crack addict, my scenario is it that easy to get off?
Yeah, they make it.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean?
I always say it. There's someone, because some people always say that a lot. Like, don't tell me to get off crack. You're a crackhead. That's the best person to tell you. Because that person knows what it feels like.
Yeah.
You get what I'm trying to say? If you got somebody who's never taken crack before, they don't have no idea. So to be honest, you know, I used to go out and talk to people that live on the street. They got the most street smarts out of anybody. Yo, they live day to day by food people throw away. And you sit there and have a conversation with them, you'll go home whistling, thinking, wow, man, at least I got a bed to sleep in. You don't realize the things that they go through when they're out there. And to me, that's fascinating. You know, when I sit there and you know, the things that fascinate me with Christ is when you think in your head and you can hear yourself think, what's going on? How does that happen? Do you know anything about that? I've been in front of thousands of people, and I've asked, anybody here knows how to make an eye? Put your hand up. And not one hand. Thousands of places. Anybody here knows what's happening when you're sleeping? How you can see dreams and then wake up the next day and remember them? Anybody knows what's happening here? I went to have an operation, and there's this thing called an anesthesiologist. That's the person that puts you to sleep. I asked, what's happening when I'm going to sleep? She said, I don't know. All she knows is how to put me to sleep, but she doesn't know what that is. She doesn't know what dreams are. And the bad thing about it, why I'm saying that is because we sit there and we down ourselves, but we had nothing to do with making ourselves. You don't know anything that went into making your eyes and your head and your hair that grows and how your heart beats, how many times, how the fact that a baby could be sitting in water and breathing and then come out and can't breathe in water. But yet still we look at human beings and we look up to them when they have no clue. That's why God fascinates me. I'm like, how'd you do that? How'd you do? How am I sitting here saying that this dude right here in my head told me he was going to put on a coat and all he did was just put on another vest, and I don't see how that he's in So, I mean, you notice I said how simple, but now I said this and I can see eyes opening up like, wait a minute. Have you guys ever thought of that? You have, right? That's what fascinates me. Do you know the things about how when sound goes into your hair and it kind of bounces off and it registers to your brain and then your brain tells you like things that happen in split seconds that you don't even realize how it happened? Fascinating. That's fascinating. But yet still we look at another human being and we look up to them like, oh man, Michael Jackson, the best thing in the world. He ain't no different than any one of us. He got nails, he got skin, he got ears. Same person that anything that anyone that you've seen, it ain't nobody no different. God didn't give nobody anything different than, ain't nobody in this room have anything different than anyone else has. We all got it.